here we have a list of almost 200 different lead source values. Like if you ever worked in ops, you come in, you want to try and do a report to see how many leads were created by a certain source, how many MQLs, opportunities, how much pipeline, revenue by different sources, and it's just an absolute mess. And typically, these are all unique values here. Typically, you'd have to go through. Maybe you could do some kind of formula to try and do some matching, but because it's such a mess, you'd have to go through and go, okay, this one is a certain source, this another one is a certain source, to try and match it to a standardized list. So here I have 24 different variations. This is lead source, this is lead source detail. So these are the combination of the two, so 24 different variations. And I have, 199. Sometimes you might have a lot more than 199, and it might just be a complete disaster, but this will still really save you a ton of time. So the method I'm going to use for this is a really cool extension. It's called GPT for Sheets and Docs. It's an extension that you can just add on into a specific Google Sheet. Now, one of the caveats that I'll say here is, obviously not every org allows you to set up add-ons into Sheets. So I'm going to show you a different way how to do this in the third example without having to use this. Some orgs do. You can give access just to singular sheets. I would say research their privacy policy, research their data policies. They have it all online. I would probably, even though they say they only store like some of the prompt information, I would just make sure you're comfortable with it, and also use this in examples where you don't really have any personal information in that sheet. So you see here, I only have lead source information. So like I said, full list of lead source values, messy, and I want to get it into the standardized list. Now it's super easy. What I did first is I got the two different lead source detail values, and I combined them into values like this, and I'll show you why in a minute. And that is what I'm going to be using to try and match all of these values to these values here. So super easy. It gives you a new formula type. In this one, we're going to use classify. I'm going to take this value. I want to categorize it into this value. I'm not going to give any examples, and the temperature I'm going to put 0. If the temperature is 0 to 1, it gets more creative, 0 it doesn't. The way I've been using this so far is using 0, and I found it's given the best outputs. So I'm going to copy this, paste down here. So old way, you would go through one by one, try and do all of the mapping yourself, maybe try and use a formula to save you some time. This way, the language model is looking at what you've got in the lead source, is trying to use the language processing to understand what that is, and then relate that to what we have in the standard value. So it's basically doing what you would do with your brain, but it's using the AI to do that in seconds. So it's not going to be perfect. Like there's some examples here where this is just calling out website, which probably is not correct here. But by and large, you can see third-party webinar, cold list upload LinkedIn. We scroll through word of mouth, event partner webinar, event field event. So I would say it's got a pretty good attempt to organic social LI to organic social LinkedIn, organic social FB to Facebook. So maybe not 100% perfect, but I would give it a pretty good, maybe a 8 out of 10 for this, maybe better actually. And then, I would just go to the next step. That's the reason why I put this line in here. I'm just going to copy this, paste as values, and then text to columns. Boom. I have lead source and my lead source detail values. And you can go through. What's kind of interesting is it does call out certain things for you. So like direct mail ABM, this isn't correct, but it's kind of giving you some information here, what it was trying to do. Outbound, couldn't classify outbound too broad, but it could be sales outbound email. It gave other here. So huge amount of time saving. And, this has a list of 200-ish. Sometimes we've come in and there's been, 1,000, and it's taking hours to go through all of those and match them all because there's just so many crazy variations. Yes, you're probably going to have to review this, but it's giving you a real head start on that, and then giving you the mapped values, which is then easy to then update your marketing automation platform or CRM with that data and correct all of those values in, maybe an hour versus 10 hours. So huge amount of time saving there. Really excited about that one. Okay,